Welcome to the Unfiltered Path podcast, where we explore life journeys without the constraints of filters. In a world saturated with highlight reels, we dive deep into the true essence of individual experiences, offering listeners an uncensored glimpse into the triumphs, struggles, and transformative moments that define us. Our mission is to provide hope, inspire resilience, and remind you that every path, no matter how windy or rocky, can lead to growth and enlightenment. Join us as we navigate the uncharted truths and to be moved, be inspired, and discover you're not alone in this unfiltered journey of life. Hello, everyone. My name is Danielle. I am a co-host here today at the Unfiltered Path podcast. During the day, I am an aerialist. That's a fancy term for performing suspended in the air. Essentially, I'm the bird of the circus. I'm also an educator, so I teach other people do it too. And we are here with our co-host today.
Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Duval. I am the owner of Valued Productions. I help businesses turn strangers into clients using video content and other digital strategies. I am joined with my co-host today.
Good morning, everyone. Trinity Baker, mindset coach and motivational speaker. I work with clients to harness the power of their mindset and completely change their life personally and professionally. We are excited to have an amazing guest for you today, where we're going to talk about the power of pivoting in business and in life. Gary, tell us who you are.
My name is Gary Ardnt. I am the host of Everything Everywhere Daily. I'm a world traveler. I'm a three-time North American Travel Photographer of the Year. I'm a bon vivant, a raconteur. Men want to be me. Women want to be with me. And I think that's a good intro.
Heck
I love the
yeah.
confidence. I love the
Heck
confidence.
yeah.
Confidence is sometimes what it takes to make the major pivots that we need to make in life. And Gary, we all just met Gary, which is kind of unique for our podcast. I think this is probably literally actually the first time that's happened. Usually at least one of us know the guest pretty well. So Gary, you got to tell us a little bit about you, where you come from, your pivots. We just talked for about 120 seconds, and it sounds like you are a master pivoter, which is a great message for our listeners who are all mostly business owners in climbing the corporate ladder, entrepreneurs, and honestly, like just regular life. Pivoting is so essential. So tell us all about you and how you are a master pivoter.
I have never climbed a corporate ladder. I've never had a real job in my life, to be
I
completely
love
honest.
that.
No one has ever
Yes.
hired me. I applied for a job out of college, was rejected, never did it again. The end. Um, so when I was in college and soon after, I was one of the top academic debaters in the United States. I coached for several years after, had one of the top high school teams in the United States. Then around 1994, I had a friend who it was a roommate of mine in college. He says, "You got to check out this internet thing."
Mm.
And he showed me my very first web page. This was like very, very early on a dial-up modem. He ended up starting a product that allowed you to tie databases and websites together, which today is trivial, but back then was really hard to do.
Mhm.
And he was working on this product and he says, "Well, I got companies that want to use this product to make a website. I don't want to do it. Do you want to do it?" So I was like, "Sure." So I did it. And then I got a lot of business and I hired a friend and a friend and a friend. And the next thing, I'm 4 years later, I'm 28 years old. I got 50 people working for me and I sell that business to a large multinational corporation. I conned them into sending me around the world to talk to all their various offices about this stuff. Leave after 1 year, start a new business. I start a internet gaming company. I bought a website that was one of the top news websites for games. Opened up a LAN gaming center. That got killed when the dot-com bubble burst. So had to figure out something else to do. I figured, if I had the opportunity, I'd go back and I'd get a degree in physics, and realized I could still do that. Went back to school, ended up studying geology and geophysics for several years, realized I didn't want to do that. Then came up with the idea of traveling around the world. That I had no wife, no kids. There was nothing stopping me. I had a fair amount of money stocked away. So in March of 2007, I sold my home, thankfully before the 2008 financial crisis hit. And I thought I'd travel for a year or two. Ended up being 13 years. Uh, was on the road. I've been to 200 countries and territories. I've been to every continent. I've been to Like I've told you guys, I've been swimming with great white sharks. I got to land and get launched from an aircraft carrier. Been in the middle of political riots, all sorts of stuff. And then when the pandemic hit, everything collapsed overnight. All the contracts I had going on, all the traffic to my website. I developed a pretty large following on social media, uh, and that just all disappeared. And I didn't really like where the industry was going. When I started, I had a travel blog, and people just went to the blog. But this was before Twitter, before Facebook, before Instagram. And as social media developed, everyone started going to social media, and you started having to write clickbaity things to appease the algorithm. And so less and less traffic went to your website. And then they changed the algorithms. They pulled the rug out to make it such that you had to pay them if you wanted to actually access your audience. And then it became all SEO. And SEO was just, you didn't have to travel to do it. You just had to write, proper headlines and stuff like that. So when the pandemic hit, I realized that I wanted to go back to the way it used to be. And the only place that's really like that now is audio podcasting. So in July of 2020, I developed a format for a show, and I didn't make a travel show, despite that's what everyone knew me for. I made something that I called kind of travel adjacent. It was more of a history educational show where I could talk about many of the things that I learned while traveling, but not travel per se. And it was a daily show. So every day I write a script for the show, and I've been doing it for 5 years now. About to get the 50 millionth download, and it's been a huge success. So I think that's kind of the whole story.
That's amazing. The thing that stuck out to me real quick is, so you said you've been to every continent, even Antarctica?
Yeah.
Wow, that is
I did every
sweet.
continent in a 9 month period, actually.
Wow.
Wild. That's wild. They're like, I don't know. Graham, you too, and I think Danielle too, like we have like huge dreams of world travel. And
Yes.
this year will be the year that I visit the most countries, and they like still just keep coming to my schedule, my calendar unexpectedly, which is really cool. So you're like an inspiration, Gary. I freaking love that story. I also love that you pivoted with your knowledge, right? So like you literally created this podcast to share all of the knowledge that you have gained over all of that travel, because a lot of people don't even travel out of the one country that they live.
Oh, I know.
It was incredibly
But
creative how you designed it too,
Yeah.
to target people in a more of a passive way. Like, so more people would feel invited to watch it because they're like, oh, I'm stuck at home. I'm not going to watch a traveling show. But in reality, um, they get to experience it because it comes off as an educational
one of the
podcast.
things I
Well,
learned
it
was
is,
that people only care about travel when they're about to go on a trip.
but
Right.
It's not something you follow,
Right.
like fashion, sports, the news, technology, where there's something new happening all the time. There's nothing new happening in travel.
mm,
Colosseum is there, going to be there in 100 years. You know,
Hmm.
what's happening new is like new hotels and resorts are opening, and most people don't care about that. They'll just notice it the next time they go and search on hotels.com, and if it's in their price range, maybe they'll stay, and that's it. So developing something that people could listen to and follow on a daily basis was, I think, a really good decision for me.
Yeah, and
yeah.
the fact that like that's going to be what you're talking about is the thing that's going to spark people to travel. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Because if they're listening and like learning
true.
about why animals are weird in Australia and like the connection to geology and whatever, they're going to be like, oh man, that would be cool to go see. And that's going to spark the thing that's going to get them to want to go travel. So, like, you're providing that information, inspiration.
Oh, that's exactly what's happened. And I wasn't even thinking of that when I started the show, but I've had so much feedback from people who've all basically said the same thing. And, I've had one sponsor of the show that's a travel company, the tourist office of Spain. And I've had a lot of people say, yeah, we weren't even thinking of doing this, and this is great. Or we were in Spain and we decided to do this side trip to this one place you talked about, and we
Mm,
never would have known about it otherwise.
that's
I'm
cool.
influenced by food TikToks based off of where I want to travel. So I love that you were very smart how you design your business and knowing how the consumer kind of thinks. And it is usually dumbed down. I'm okay. We're all like dumb consumers. So I love that you kind of like saw that and built your business to harness it, and then we get the most out of it. I love that. Just smart business, small little things like that. And I'm like, that's good.
Mm.
Can you tell me more about like, okay, so you're traveling to all these places. What's that lifestyle like? Like, are you so food must be different all the time, but yet you're still eating convenient food because you're traveling? Like, what's the like the rough underground, like kind of scruffy things
Mm.
that happen with having such a lifestyle like that?
Yeah, that's a great
Like,
question
what is
too.
Yeah.
That I to kind of add a little caveat to that question too, because I'm here in a hotel right now,
mm,
and like there's a microwave and a small fridge. So
mhm.
it's like, what do you do? You know what I mean?
Uh, I almost would never eat out of that microwave or put stuff in that small fridge. I ate out pretty much every single meal for a decade.
Mm.
In fact, when I stopped traveling, it was something that was very difficult to get over. I kept,
Mm,
eating out, which was not necessarily the healthiest thing in the world. Um, you're living out of a bag. So
Mm,
imagine taking whatever clothes you have, you're going to have a couple versions of it and shoving that in a bag, and that's it for a very long time. Um,
that's a
it's
trigger
not as
point for
glamorous as
females.
people think. I'm not even necessarily staying in hotels most of the time. A lot of the time I was in
Mm,
hostels or guest houses because it's cheaper. And
mm,
I would rather pay $50 a night and stay somewhere for, several nights than pay $200 a night and then that's just one night.
right.
You're unconscious when you're in a hotel room, so you don't really know too much of a difference. And that's something that's kind of stuck with me to this day. I'll just stay at like a lower end motel or something rather than some high end place.
Mm.
Uh, if I had a choice, I've often said I would rather fly first class and stay in a hostel than fly economy than stay in a five-star hotel
That makes
noted.
sense.
because flying
That
sucks.
makes sense.
Noted.
Flying is a very unpleasant experience, and the
Mm.
business model of most airlines today is to make it very uncomfortable for you, and then have you pay to relieve that pain. That's
Yes.
that's basically the business model.
Man, ain't that the
Um,
truth?
you're
Hmm.
moving
Hmm.
around a lot. You don't have anyone, stable in your life. You meet lots of people,
Mm.
and they come and they go. Um, yeah, I mean, you're eating new food, but it's not. When you're on the road constantly, the wonder that you have when you're on vacation or you're visiting a place for your new time, it just kind of becomes second nature.
Mm.
One of the
Mm,
things I would do if I stayed for even a couple days is just find one place and I would eat there every day. I
mm.
remember I was in Aqaba, Jordan, and I just found this place that had shawarma and French fries and hummus, and I would go there every day. And by day three, they kind of figured out what I was going to order every time. So you develop
Nice.
small things like that to sort of develop a routine. Um,
Sense of normalcy.
yeah,
How long
Um,
did you stay in each place? And was it like intentional, like I'm gonna stay here for X amount of days, or you just kind of like go with the flow?
totally depends. I moved a lot more than a lot of long-term travelers did, but
Hmm.
occasionally I would get kind of burned out. So I stayed in Saigon for like a month. I stayed in Melbourne for a month. I stayed in Girona, Spain for 3 months. Um,
mm,
So I would do things like that, but then in some places I'd just stay 1 or 2 nights and then move on to the next thing.
hmm.
Do you
Uh,
like people more or less?
Then
Because if you're meeting a lot of people, like your perception of people and
oh,
peopling, do you enjoy it more because you're meeting all these different types of people, or are you just like, oh, people suck everywhere? This is crazy. Like, or is it the reverse? So, like, people are wonderful. I love them so much.
no,
Like,
people don't
what?
suck. Um, Especially the longer I traveled, my story became more interesting to people.
Mm.
Oh, we're here on holiday from such and such.
Mm.
Oh, I've been doing this for 6 years. And they're like, really? Because most people have never met anyone like that. And so They're always very curious. You talk to travelers in place, and you're usually meeting people who are coming from the place you're going to. So they're usually the best source of information for wherever you want to visit because they know what's happening there at that moment. That tends to be better than a guidebook. Um, but yeah, I still have people that I'm, friends with, that I contact, connected with on like Facebook or something that I met 10 years ago. I have not seen them since, but we're still in touch.
I
That's
love that.
I like that too. I didn't know because,
that's
like,
cool.
you know what I mean? Like, because people can be projected, especially with media and just like culture in general, is kind of like a negative space. So I feel like traveling could either like confirm that or free you from that mindset. Does that make sense?
One
Or
of the
maybe that.
things that was unique about the period I was traveling is when I started, social media wasn't a thing. People weren't walking around with their phones because, like,
Mhm.
literally, Steve Jobs announced the iPhone a month before I started traveling, and it didn't go
Okay.
on sale until like June of that year. And then it wasn't a couple years later until a lot of the apps and a lot of the messaging and everything else became really embedded, and people walked around with the phone in front of their face. I remember going to Jerusalem the first time in 2009, and it was a radically different experience than the next time I visited several years later because the second visit, everyone was walking around with a phone in front of their face.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, literally, just walking with a phone in front of their face, just having it on record the whole time, as if that's going to mean something.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's changed things a bit. There was this rise in influencers where suddenly people just would take pictures of themselves in front of some place traveling, and they're trying to make life look very glamorous. I remember
Mm.
I was in Sri Lanka, and it was with this group of, we were invited there by this hotel chain, and there were these Chinese influencers that were there. And one day we were going to go hike this mountain, and this one woman who's a Chinese influencer and had a very big following on Instagram walked up the mountain in basically an evening gown.
Mhm.
And people don't do that. And
Mm.
she's there with her photographer slash boyfriend. They get to the top of the mountain. They take a bunch of pictures, and it's such an unrealistic thing. Like no one in their right mind is going to climb a mountain wearing an evening gown like that. Like she's going to the Met Gala. So that was one of the weird things I kind of noticed
Mm. That
with
is
people
weird.
traveling.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And now we have streaming, so seeing people with
Yeah.
a camera following them is
Yeah.
quite lucrative, believe it or not,
Mm.
and is like normalized. If for so my kids refer to things like just in general chat, like they're pretending to have a chat based off of the chat from a live stream, and that's normal to them. My
Mhm.
kids spend more money digitally than they do. I have to drag them to Funtown yesterday. Like, it's
Mm.
crazy how it's completely like upside down. But I'm hoping that traveling and things of that nature will help preserve myself and my kids' mindset around the quality of life because it's been something I've been interested in, and I've been leaning on travel and adventures to kind of parent it. And so it's really rewarding meeting you and kind of ingraining that concept back into me, but that things will still be just like that somewhere else. So this has
Mm.
been enlightening.
I've met
I
several families who traveled full time, and they basically
Mhm.
schooled their kids on the road.
Yeah.
And traveling is a fantastic way to learn,
Yeah.
Yeah.
totally.
arguably one of the best there is. And you're going to be exposed to new things, and becomes very difficult to be spending a lot of your time on a phone and on various apps when you're out there exploring the world.
Totally.
Yeah.
It takes a lot
Yeah.
of intention. It takes like
Mhm.
extreme intention.
Yeah.
Especially in
Which,
front of the adult.
Well,
yeah.
I think the reason I think it takes so much intention is that like I mean I can't even I honestly can't even imagine traveling without my phone because like Google Translate and the
Mhm.
and maps and all of those things. So hats off to you. I
Oh,
mean I
well,
wouldn't
that
figure
does make travel easy mode. in all
Yeah.
fairness.
But
That
here's the thing is the phone's in your hand for that purpose and then it stays there and you have to kind of like make that intentional disconnect to like I'm gonna put it away when I
I have
don't.
taken every social media app off my phone.
I love
I
that.
have I have nothing. I've become, and like I said, I have very big followings on every social media platform,
Yeah.
and I've come to hate it because what you're seeing isn't real. Um, can you tell me the last 10 things you liked on social media? Like you hit the like button for?
Well, I will tell you, I could tell you because I'm very intentional. I also do not
Yeah.
social media, so I am like extremely intentional with my time on it. And
Yeah.
I use it to be that real person. Like I'm going to show you the real
Yeah.
struggle because that's what we need to see. Because I
And
know that
that's
the next 20 things you scroll over are going to be that picture perfect shit that like we don't need to see. Honestly, it's so deceiving. And then we get shame and we get all those things because our life doesn't look like that. It's like I'm going to show you the travel, but I'm also going to show you the real side of it. Like my phone, literally, I went to Italy for like 11 days. My phone did not work at all
mm,
whatsoever until I was connected to internet. So, like, I shared those things. But a lot of people, you're right. It's endless scroll
and
and it's mindless.
and that's exactly
I
the
do
type of
some on
stuff that
purpose
I
though.
teach my clients a lot is like the realness of it, you know what I mean? Which is important to cut through that stuff, like you were saying, Trinity.
Yep.
I would be curious to
Oh, Graham, you cut out. Can't hear you.
learn more.
There we go.
The internet at this hotel is like pretty junky.
Travel
Uh,
problems.
y- yeah. I'd be
One thing
curious,
to
like,
add to
so
our list
that's
we've been accruing through this whole conversation.
right. So I'd be curious, like that's a lot of pivoting in life, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Location to location. So like I'd be curious to learn more like the pivoting in like your like the story that you had from like you said you never had a real job and like selling your house. Like what were some of those mindset thoughts of like how you were thinking about choosing and like what were you looking for in the universe as the direction of like how
Mhm.
you chose to kind of like go whatever direction you went.
I've had a lot of people ask me kind of similar questions like, oh, weren't you scared when you started doing this or weren't you worried? And the truth is, there's some segment of my brain that just never developed and I never thought about those things. Once I came up with the idea of selling my house and traveling, it was like, all right, that's what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And that was about as much thought as that went into it. The same is true with pretty much any time I've really had to pivot and change what I was doing. Once I came up with the idea, it was like, all right, how do we get it done?
Mhm.
And
Mm,
but I don't really dwell on, doing it or the change. And like I said, I didn't have any wife, I didn't have a wife or kids when I started traveling. It was just me, so I wasn't particularly worried about a lot. Um, and yeah, I don't know what it is, but a lot of people they hem and haw over making these
yeah.
decisions a lot more, and that's just not a problem I have. When I decided to launch the podcast, I did a lot of research into it. I researched what a lot of very successful podcasts do, and I realized that they often say, well, it takes about 18 months to get to a point where you can, see some success, and then it may take another year or two after that. So I was like, all right, so I'm going to basically do this every day for a year and a half. And I got to, during that period, accept the fact that it might not be very successful at all. I was like, okay. And once I knew that going in, it was once, because a lot of times when you're working on a project like that, you can get discouraged. You're not seeing
Mm,
success or things plateau. And you have to know that this is part of the process.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've ever seen the stat, but most podcasts never make it to episode 7
Mhm.
because people have this idea, oh, I'm going to start a podcast, and then they just kind of give up when something gets in the way and they never come back to it. So I made it a
hmm
priority. You know, I kind of was in a desperate situation when I started it, which to be honest helped. I had to
Mhm.
make it work.
Yeah.
But I was more importantly, I knew what I was going to have to do going into it. So I just did that. And, even when I launched the show, I had some friends with popular podcasts and I pitched, I bounced the idea off them. And they all said the same thing. It's like, this is a brilliant idea. and you are insane for trying to do a daily show. And I was like, well, I got plenty of time right now, so that's not the problem. And so I did it, and it paid off.
That's awesome.
I call it higher levels of effort.
Yeah.
Because like people are like,
Yeah,
you just stopped business school and went to circus school, and I was like, yeah. I now own like 2 businesses. Like it's just I feel like I relate to you deeply.
Mm.
I do
Circus,
question,
a
and
degree
I
at
think
circus
it's like
school is probably worth more than an MBA, to be completely honest. So that was probably
honestly,
the move.
I mean, and I've worked for big companies, and I've also been painted head to toe to make money at an event. Like I've done I self-pay, but I also have learned a lot through, certain companies. But I will say the courage the courage it took to just go and move to Orlando and chase something that's just outside, I thought was in business school. Like I had a 4.0. Like that was just like I was doing great at normal, but I was miserable and I was disturbed inside. And I just did it. But within 3 months, the cast of Circus Soleil saw me performing and put me in their circus school. So there's always this reward for my effort. Always. And then when I'm not in that space, I get sick.
I think that if you look at so in ancient Rome, they had a thing called the cursus honorum, which was a series of positions that you were elected to. You'd start as a quaestor, and then you'd be this, and then you finally get to be consul, which is the highest position. And we have a similar thing in the United States where, okay, you go to you're in high school, and then you take your tests, and then you go to college, and then maybe you'll get a graduate degree, and then you get a job, and you're constantly on this ladder getting the next thing. And as a result, almost everyone kind of has a very similar pedigree, or they do BS things just to put it on their resume, and everybody knows they don't really care about it. If you were in high school and you were in fencing, you probably didn't care about fencing. You just did it for your college application or something like that. So when you have something that like going to circus school, that is so out there, I think that makes you stand out from everybody else, because no one is just gonna do that to impress someone else. You only do that really because you want to do it. And I think doing something, even like traveling around the world like I did, I'm not trying to impress anyone to get a job, but if you compare just my life experience and background having done that compared to someone else, I think if I wanted to get a job, it would probably give me a leg up.
Totally.
Sure, right?
I think that makes a lot of sense. And like, that's very similar to all of us in the room. Like, there's a lot of people out there who are doing those things, like you said, like doing the fencing and, doing the things just to get it on their application to hopefully make some decision and go a certain direction. Whereas everyone in this room right now does the thing that they're passionate about, and it, like, regardless of like anything else. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a musician. I have been doing video stuff since before iMovie came out. All these different things. Trinity, your mindset shift and the way you started your business, and Danielle with the circus school, like, these are things that we love, and has nothing to do with like putting that on the degree. And it's wild to think that is so like different. You know what I mean? When it, like, thinking a bit about myself, it's like, this is just what I love to do. You know what I mean? And like, that's not what everybody does. And so hopefully this provides some sort of inspiration that, like, do those things that you love. That's going to be the thing that makes you stand out. And it's going to make you feel more comfortable when you make those pivots, because you're going to know that you're being guided by the thing that you truly enjoy doing.
That, and I believe that a lot of people are now realizing that having a pedigree and a degree from elite university is not necessarily helping you.
100%.
I don't know if you've seen the latest stats, like the unemployment rate of MBAs right now who are graduating. It's like at an all-time high.
Mhm.
that a lot of these places are not necessarily looking for that anymore. And I think one of the best
No.
things you can do, quite frankly, is become an entrepreneur. You at
Yep.
least
Mhm.
have your fate in your own hands.
Also, it's
Exactly.
creative, right? It's a bit we're so I'm very spiritual. So sometimes I might like lean on just feeling confident with a decision because it was just placed in my mind so clear and I have faith in it, right? And I lean on that. Um wait, my brain just went completely. So sorry. Um what were you just saying? I'm so sorry. Please help my
Oh, I
brain.
just said
About
I think entrepreneurship is a good
Oh.
thing for a lot of people. But one of the things is, and I'm sure you all experience the same thing, even though you can set your own hours and all those other things people talk about, you end up working more
oh,
Mhm.
And
because you
in
have
a
to.
total different way too. Like it's more,
totally
but
work.
in a total different way and a total different
Yeah.
quality, right? Like the same hour working for someone else. I remember it like it was yesterday. It felt so
Wow.
draining, right? Like you weren't
Hmm.
present and it would just was you were just there for a paycheck. And even I'm a former nurse, so even though I was taking care of patients and obviously very attentive to what I was doing, it was still 14-hour days and it was draining. And then I look at my life now and I'm like, okay, I'll work 8 to 1 and then I'll go to the beach and then I'll come back and I'll work 4 to 8 and then I'll play with my son and then I'll work a couple more hours. And so
Hmm.
it is sometimes longer hours, especially when we're pushing programs or certain things out or getting things started, or we have that commitment of like, well, we got to get it to work because there's no other option. But it's so rewarding. It's so fueling versus draining. And I think that's the huge difference is that you feel fueled by the hours
Hmm.
you're working. You don't feel drained by the hours that you're working.
I remember I
Totally.
was going to say, so I believe that we are here to create. Like that is our
Mm-hmm.
purpose or to be living
Yeah.
a physical experience, right? Is to be creators, co-creators to this physical experience. And being an
Amen.
entrepreneur is an actual creative space all the time. You're creating solutions for people and yourselves constantly. And I find that sometimes the most thrilling is in the solutions and creating ideas for myself and for others because I obviously teach, so I'm creating programs that are based around other people's lives, bodies, and lifestyles. And that's where I find entrepreneurship the greatest, is because I feel like I'm holding true to being a co-creator on this
Mhm.
planet.
Yeah, we're supposed to be creators,
Totally.
not consumers.
And just to tie
Exactly.
that back into what I was talking about with travel, when I first started, it was hard to even get an internet connection in a lot of places. I had to go to internet cafes and whatnot. And that's even not a thing anymore. And there's more and more people now that have created their own businesses that can be done from anywhere,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
you don't need to be tied to a particular place. And that's opened up lifestyles that before were never really possible. And
Hmm.
so the term digital nomad really wasn't a thing when I started, but that's effectively what I was. But now I see more and more people who, are able to do stuff on the road, and that's what they do. They may get an extended stay where they're, staying in some place for a couple months before they move on, and that was never really something you can do, and certainly something you can't do if you're working for someone else.
For sure.
Totally. That whole location freedom.
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
where it's at.
We all have businesses that
Yeah.
are portable.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm a traveling circus school. So I work with
Yeah.
like all the boys and girls clubs. I work out of a karate studio. I own a rig. So I perform, I teach, everything's travel. And then even when we built the podcast, we did it in a way that was respectful to that and have larger goals that include traveling. Our guests are
Hmm.
all over. So we didn't pitch like a local concept. We went more with a global, so we've had people from Africa, and then just hearing stories like yourselves. It's a friendly reminder that it would be kind of cool to make the podcast travel a little bit. That would be exciting.
Yeah.
I
Gary.
I was going to say I used to have a podcast I did for 11 years with I had two co-hosts as well called This Week in Travel. And I was the one who was always on the road. So I've done it from a bungalow in Fiji I was a mile underground in a salt mine in Poland where I
I
called into the
love
show.
that.
I tried doing it from Antarctica, but at the time the internet was so bad it wasn't possible. But I could probably do it today with Starlink.
Oh,
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it's definitely possible to do a podcast from almost anywhere on Earth now.
I love that.
Starlink, what is that?
Starlink
Oh,
is
that's
internet. I have
yeah,
Starlink. Starlink is where
Oh,
you get internet no matter where you are. It's the
yeah.
best.
It's Elon Musk's internet.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
network of thousands of low Earth orbit satellites that basically cover the whole planet. So
mm,
even cruise ships have it now. So if you're out in the middle of the sea, and this is both good and bad, you can get, reasonably good internet connections from almost anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I love
that's
And
that.
why
if
he
you
named his car Tulsa. He's like,
Tesla,
listen, everything should be gridded, universal. The fact that because I worked for the cell phone industry a lot. So, and I remember the era he's talking about when it first came out. And like, I made so much money off of digital packages, may I just say. But anyways, he is so clear about his crazy, brilliant. I'm not like a huge fan of him personally or his behaviors. However, in terms of his technology that he builds, it's very obvious to me because he doesn't want it subsection, and that's what they do with internet. So I was not familiar with that.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Um,
If you
Starlink's
look up
huge.
at the sky and you ever see a line of what looks like 7 to 10 stars going across the sky, that's Starlink satellites going across the sky. It's
Yeah.
really wild to look up and see, and it's just like
Fascinating.
this line of dots like
Yeah.
moving across the sky.
But so grateful for it because I
Oh,
would not
totally.
have had internet this entire 3 years I lived in the mountains of Maine. So, so grateful for it.
Oh,
Gary,
Starlink has been a game changer for people all over the world, people in rural
yeah.
areas that otherwise couldn't get broadband.
Mhm.
And if you go and look at some of the maps of like where everything is, like even if you're literally like the base at the South Pole can get broadband now due to Starlink. I
That's
mean,
Mm.
wild.
it's really been a game changer, and you can go to Best Buy and pick up a Starlink
Yep.
dish.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
Yeah,
crazy.
Nicholas Telsa, that's his name. I was trying to think of the full
Tesla.
name. Yeah,
Tesla.
so
Even
Tesla.
he has the same birthday as me, and I remember learning that and building such confidence in my brain about my creative space, and to never let one of my ideas be too big for someone else's mind to grapple on, purely because I was like, because that guy's done it a couple times. So, yeah, it was helpful knowing that because it sort of built a confidence in me because I'm very creative. Um, anyways, I'm
Gary,
glad we kind of touched on that.
Gary, I have one last question before Graham wraps us up. You got any plans to travel?
I have not been out of the United States since February 28th, 2020. My last international trip
Mm.
was in Portugal. I got COVID immediately after I landed.
Mhm.
Uh, the world fell apart, and then I started this show, and this has been keeping me busy. That being said, I can do this show anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
So my current plan is I live in Wisconsin, is to go to Australia for 2 months with probably a couple days stop in Fiji along the way because I just hate long flights and stay there for about 2 months and avoid the worst of the winter and then come back. So
Love that.
that's my current
Nice.
plan.
Love
That's
that.
Yeah.
a
Well,
good
you
plan.
have a
I lo-
fabulous trip. I'm glad that you are getting
love
back
that.
to travel and congratulations on turning your pivots into success. You're a real
Yeah.
inspiration for, I mean, everyone here in this room, but also all of our listeners. This is why we have this podcast.
Hmm. Most
So thank
definitely. It's a real testament to show that like you put
you. Oh, Graham, you cut out again.
your mind to hello.
There you go.
It's
You're
a
back.
it's a real testament to show that what you put your mind to and like the pivot that you can have, it doesn't matter. Like if you're being called to a direction, go with it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't really not work out.
Yeah.
Quotes around the not work out because it's actually probably working out. And that's the pivot that you need to make to then go to the next destination.
Yep.
So it's a real inspiration and a breath of fresh air. I appreciate you being on here today, Gary. My name is Graham. Valued Productions is my business. You can find me online at Valued Productions. That's VALUD Productions on social media and valuedproductions.com. Would love to connect with anybody if you want to learn about the social media and content game. Joined with my co-host today.
Good morning, everyone. Trinity Baker, mindset coach and motivational speaker. You can find lots of inspiring, real, and raw content on your favorite social media platform where I'm really busting that algorithm of this fake stuff and giving you a space where you can learn all kinds of amazing things about the power of your mindset and find amazing community that I've created on there. You can find me at the Trinity Baker or thetrinitybaker.com. Joined with our co-host.
Hi, everyone. My name is Danielle, the owner of Aerial Jade. You can find me on every major platform. You can also live chat with me on aerialjade.com. I host nutrition information. I lead with motherhood and athleticism. And I'm a bit of a Disney princess during the summer months as I do the Disney movie nights. So if you're into that kind of stuff, follow me. And we are here with our guest today.
And I'm Gary Ardnt. I'm the host of Everything Everywhere Daily. And if you want to learn something brand new every day, just listen to the show on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Oh.
Thank you, Gary, for joining us today. And thank you for our listeners for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and follow and download where all your podcasts are. The Unfiltered Path podcast on YouTube. Hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. We look forward to your support. If you have any questions on anything, drop them. We're all about answering questions. And we will see you all next week on the Unfiltered Path podcast.